Welcome to West Coast to East Coast, your podcast on the latest news in Canadian immigration and the latest tips on the IELTS, CELPIP, and PTE language proficiency tests. My name is Maria, and I'm a certified Canadian English teacher and language exam expert here to help you get the band scores you need.
And my name is Olena Weber, and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant.
What are we talking about today, Olena?
Today we're talking about scams in the world of immigration, because unfortunately, immigrants are very attractive targets for all the scammers.
Yes, I've seen it time and time again on my side here for immigrants, and it's unfortunate. So let's talk about the types of scams that we have seen so that our community, our listeners, don't fall for any of them.
Yes. So obviously, there are a lot of scams when it comes to scams in terms of immigration documents, in terms of immigration consultants, licensed and unlicensed, immigration lawyers, licensed and unlicensed, offering their services and trying to scam people. Mm-hmm. So it comes in different forms and in different ways. Some scams can be very obvious, and some scams can be very much not obvious and hidden. So let's talk about obvious scams first. Well, first of all, one of the most common ones is that if, again, licensed or unlicensed immigration professional offers you to buy a job offer. So job offer in Canada, it's worth a lot of points in terms of immigration. And for a lot of people, it can essentially be a green light to apply for permanent residency. So therefore, there are scammers that are taking advantage of people and selling those job offers.
Is this the LMIA?
Yeah, LMIA, exactly, LMIA. So people don't realize the repercussions and really how it works in reality when somebody sells the job offer. So basically, again, it can be absolutely licensed immigration consultant or even a lawyer. I know lawyers who do that. This is all under the table. So this is all absolutely illegal. And the cost for job offer for LMIA on that black market from those scammers, it can cost anywhere from $30,000 to $200,000.
Oh, wow.
And it is not uncommon. So honestly, middle of the road job offer would be around $100,000. And right now, probably, even more because everybody needs them. Why it is a bad idea? I mean, it should be really obvious why, because probably if you're doing something, if it is illegal, if it is a black market, if you're paying somebody money, which would probably come in a form of cash, those, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, how can you trust that person? That person already broke the law. That person already, in their head, they already agreed that if they're going to get caught, there is a very big chance that they're going to go to actual jail because it's 2 years in jail. If that person is that kind of a person that you're dealing with, how do you think you can trust them? How do you think that a job offer is even real, that it's not just a document that I can make in 5 minutes in a Word document, right?
Right.
Because you cannot check it. How do you know that I didn't just type that LMIA and
exactly.
put a Canadian flag, right? There is no way. Actually, what's really weird is that you cannot really check it with the government. So there is no process when you can, as a worker, check if LMIA is real with the government. So you just take their word, you pay, let's say $100,000 or $50,000, and you just hope that PDF document is real. And then number two is that you don't know what happens next. Okay, so you got the job offer. If you're outside of Canada, let's say you paid all this money, you're doing this illegal thing. You even, let's say, for example, you got approved for work permit. You come into Canada. How do you know that job exists? how are you going to survive in Canada if that job, which most likely it doesn't exist? How are you going to survive in Canada? You cannot go for anybody else, because if you're coming to Canada under LMIA and that job, like physical job, doesn't exist, and they don't pay you actual salary, you cannot work for anybody else because your work permit would be tied to that LMIA employer, right? So how are you planning to even like survive in Canada? And that's a very common thing, is that those LMIA like very, very common, is that those LMIA documents are real, but
it's like a jail.
Yeah, but when foreign worker comes to Canada, the employer says that I'm not going to employ you. Because it was all a sham, right? Because immigration consultant or a lawyer split money with the employer, and and then they're like, I'm not going to employ you. And the worker is like, okay, but I have my work permit for your company. But they're like, well, I don't need you as a worker. I'm not going to pay you salary. You cannot legally work for anybody else. How are you going to pay your rent, pay your like expenses, right? So it's a trap. Yeah, you are in Canada, great, but
wow. So they don't. Does it have a SIN number on it? They don't have a SIN at that point, right?
They do. They have a SIN number, but they're not allowed to work anywhere else except that employer that issued LMIA. If that employer says, I don't need you as a worker, then the only way you can exist is being unemployed.
Right. Okay. That's so unethical by, on the employer's part and whoever wrote the document. They're just taking cash, and then who cares, screw the immigrant, like at the end of the day.
But, the sad part is that there are a lot of Canadian employers that are doing this because again, yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't have thought that it was common like that.
Yeah, very sad, but that's true. So, I mean, like my main really argument would be just like, if the person on another side of the table from you doing something illegal to the point that they actually going to go to jail if they are caught, how can you trust this person, right? So this should like click in your brain, is that you shouldn't really trust that person, because if they don't respect law, then why would they even care about you or respect you? Right.
So I have a follow-up question. Let's say an employer is like a small business, and they have an employee who's in Canada, and they've been, the employee's been working for them, and the employee says, can you write an LMIA for me? And the employer says, it's a lot of money for me. And they say, can you pay for it? Or like, can I reduce it from your salary? Is that allowed?
No, absolutely not. So employer cannot transfer the cost for LMIA, even if it's $1,000, which is LMIA processing fee is $1,000, so Service Canada process it. Even $1,000, they cannot withdraw it from paychecks. They cannot transfer it to the to the worker. That's cost. Yeah.
Can we consider that a scam?
If they transfer the cost?
Yeah.
It's not the scam. It's just non-compliance, which is actually it's not that bad, to be honest, because when Service Canada does audit, and if they find this non-compliance, most of the times they would just tell you, don't do this again, to the employer, but they're not really going to do anything unless employer did it really multiple times and been caught multiple times. So it is definitely non-compliance, but it's not a scam, no.
Okay, that's good to know. Just curiosity of mine.
Yeah, it's just employers have to be careful because they want to make sure that everything is legal and their company, their business is not jeopardized. But because there are ways to do these things absolutely in a clean, nice way, and and keep everybody safe. So in terms of scams, it's when you hear those crazy numbers, if the number is too big, then probably it's a scam. Now, another thing is that what I want everybody to know is that if you're talking to immigration consultant or a lawyer and they're saying something that is too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. Yes. It's not going to, nothing is easy really in immigration. And if somebody tells you that okay, pay $5,000 and then we will apply for PR tomorrow, then it just doesn't work like that. Like even if it's like $5,000 or $10,000, even if it's not like crazy numbers and crazy amounts of money, still it doesn't work like that. When you pay somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're paying for the result. No, you're paying for the process, right?
Yes.
So you still need to put a lot of effort, like for example, passing English mark. Doesn't matter how much money you pay and to whom, your English mark is only up to you. And I cannot, if you pay me, I don't know, $1 billion, I cannot take IELTS for you. I cannot take CELPIP for you, right?
One thing I will say,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, on that note, I know that you mentioned that there are a lot of scams and a lot of, I think you told me those like people that take exam for you, like, does it exist?
Yeah, so following on what you just said, something that does bother me on your side of the industry with the immigration consultants is we get sent we receive a lot of emails from people who have gone to immigration consultants who sign retainers with them, who say like, not one from Olena, by the way, but people who go to like other immigration consultants who get the immigrant to sign like $6,000 for a retainer, and they are told, just get a CLB9 without having any idea what their language proficiency level is. Like they might speak no English because they're doing the consultation in their first language. So like it might be a Korean agency, it might be a Japanese agency, it might be a Brazilian agency, it might be like a Ukrainian agency. Like it doesn't matter which country it is, like an agency in India or something. So but they're talking in their first language. So whoever the consultant is has no idea what their English proficiency level is because they're not English teachers. And then they send me or they contact me and say, I was told I need a CLB9. And then when I do a consultation, I find out that they are at like beginner's English or pre-intermediate or intermediate. And I tell them the honest truth that it's going to take them maybe a year or maybe 6 months at least to improve their English to get them to, a CLB9, because a CLB9 is equivalent to C1 advanced. And it takes time to improve one's proficiency level. It takes about 200 hours to go from one English proficiency level to another. And while there are test strategies that our team can teach to, of course, improve, their band scores and to go from one CLB level to another, there are no shortcuts when it comes to learning a language. It still takes time to improve an English proficiency level. And so when somebody signs a retainer and they're told, I just need a CLB9 and I have to get it within a month, that's very unrealistic. And I feel very under a lot of pressure, and it's very unfortunate because if they sign a retainer, they're forced to pay this money to the immigration consultant. And it's not realistic because they might have like a time frame that they have to pay the immigration consultant. But like you said, it's like they still have to get their English score. So it's something that I think that should be taken under consideration. Make sure that you get your test results and focus on that first. Other things that I've seen, fake test results.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I see this everywhere, and goodness, this has been a huge issue for my school because scammers online use English for Canada's brand, like my logo, pictures of me, videos of me on YouTube, like everything you can imagine. Pictures of me on Instagram. There's fake profiles on Instagram, fake profiles on Facebook, fake profiles, like fake WhatsApp accounts using my face, using my logo, everything, selling fake IELTS and fake CELPIP certificates. The British Council, CELPIP Canada are already aware of this. And to be very clear here, I do not sell fake certificates. So if anybody is buying a fake certificate, it's a big red flag because obviously you cannot just buy your certificate, but a lot of people do it. And I've received emails from people being like, I want my money back. And I go, from what? And they say to me, you promised me a certificate on WhatsApp. And I go, first of all, I don't communicate via WhatsApp. Send me a screenshot. And then I see a screenshot and they've been talking to somebody with my logo in their WhatsApp account saying that they promised 3 things. Option A, $3,000 for the certificate. Option
What?
B, we
So
send some,
much?
yeah,
I'm like
yeah,
shocked.
$3,000 for this, $3,000 for a fake certificate. Option B, we'll send a Canadian to do the test for you. Or option C, we can hack into the CELPIP website and change your test results. All from, and then they say that it's all by my school. Like we could, English for Canada can do this for you. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We do not do this. So
this is crazy.
We do not do this. Like, just be very, very clear that, like,
this is insane. But like, you know, obviously they don't they don't actually hack the CELPIP system, right? Like they just like take the money and they're like, I don't know, they probably just produce fake PDF file, which again I can do in 5 seconds. But that has no value. That's why I'm like shocked that it's $3,000, because the way, like, just so everybody is aware how immigration works. For immigration, like IRCC, they have access to IELTS and CELPIP. So you don't even need to submit your results with your application, because IRCC already sees your certificate on the back end, right? So, like doing a fancy PDF with just adjusted scores is not going to fool anybody. What it's going to do is going to give you ban from Canada for 5 years, because that's clearly a forged document. Yeah, but tell me about, I don't know, I'm very interested in the topic when they send Canadian to take exam. Well, like, how does it even look like?
I don't even know how that's possible, because when you go to take a test, you have to take a picture of yourself, show your passport, and take a fingerprint. So I don't, like, the security screenings at the IELTS and CELPIP tests are very, very rigorous and serious. Like they are very intense for a reason, because otherwise, people will just get paid to go to the test for you. So these hackers, these scammers, they are offering these fake services just to get money. And unfortunately, people fall for it. But if people are falling for it, they know that they're doing something wrong. Like, they should know that they're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So I would say that it's the same as like fake job offers, like those LMIAs, and then the same, like the one that you said, that is like clearly very obvious scams.
Yeah.
So, those are obvious scams, and people who agree to that, they clearly know what they're doing. Yeah. So, that's really like obvious. But I wanted to say also a couple of words about non-obvious scams. So in immigration, like in my industry, in immigration world, there are like scams that are not obvious. One of them, just to give you an example, would be when an immigration consultant takes your case knowing that it's like 99.99999%, if not 100, would be refused. And unfortunately, immigrants, they are very, it's a sensitive population, and it's very, very much targeted, because there's not all immigrants have all the knowledge in the world, of course. And of course, they fall for it. Okay, so there is this program, it's called Humanitarian and Compassionate Program. And essentially the way it works is that really anybody can apply for this program. There is no very strict eligibility requirements for it. So any person that has like lived in Canada and can prove a connection to this country, so any international student or foreign worker that lived here for a while would be able to apply under this program. And unfortunately, there are immigration consultants that would take like $5,000-$6,000. They say, and it's true. Technically, it's true. You can apply, and they do submit the application, and it's a big application, and maybe they even try to do a good job in this application. But the problem is that the reality, they are taking advantage knowingly. They're taking advantage of immigrants, knowing that for humanitarian, the refusal rate is like crazy, and it's almost impossible to get approved, because humanitarian program is truly created for very, very special circumstances, when, for example, if a person comes to Canada, lives in Canada for 10 years. Meanwhile, their country is flooded completely and everything is ruined. For example, like, I don't know, Caribbean, right? Like Haitians were really under humanitarian program. They were approved a lot in recent years. So for example, and then at the same time, this person is in Canada and has a child born in Canada and has lived here for like 10 years and maybe already or also have an additional relative in Canada, and they have no place to go back home. And it's like these special circumstances around it, not just like I spent in Canada for 1 year, I want a PR, right? Like, but because it's so easy to sell this program, like, listen, if I post today on Instagram a post that says apply for humanitarian and compassionate, like I will have 1 billion emails and people lining up to pay me money, right? Is it ethical to, and I would, technically, it's not even against the rules. Technically, according to all the rules, I'm good because I would be, submitting this application. I'm not forging anything. It's a real application. They are technically eligible, right? And I can submit it. But is it ethical? No, because I know that they will not get approved because not a lot of people have those extraordinary circumstances that really would grant the approval. So those are very non-obvious ways when you get scammed. Unfortunately, right now, Ukrainians, Iranians, they all get scammed for humanitarian program. Turkish people, Syrians, like a lot of them get scammed because you cannot, even Ukrainians, you cannot just get approved for a humanitarian program. How cruel would it sound, but just because it's war. You can't. It just doesn't work that way because Canada cannot, like, it just cannot do that, right? You have to, like, there are certain criteria, but we have so many consultants that taking advantage of it. One of them, like, I know that she is just knowingly like scamming people, like taking thousands of dollars from, so many people. And like, she probably made like close to 500,000 last year. And it's just like here in Toronto, like, it's just so many people scammed by her. But like, technically, like, you can't even really complain because technically, like, she didn't do anything wrong, but she knowingly did.
But it's not right at the end because you're still capitalizing on somebody's vulnerability.
Exactly.
Like, she's still, like, whoever's doing this knows that these people are vulnerable and they're desperate for a solution. And if there's really no chance, it's like, why,
Yes, exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, when it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true because those like humanitarian and compassionate, it really does like sound too good. Oh, well, that's what people want to hear. People want to hear that I would say, well, because you've been in Canada for some time and you've been volunteering here and because it's war in your country or because, I don't know, certain other circumstances and you cannot go back to your country. That's why we can apply, just pay us like $5,000 and we can apply for this program. Of course, this is exactly what person wants to hear, but unfortunately, it's just not the way it works. So yeah, those like there are a lot of non-obvious things that can happen, and I'm sure like in your industry the same.
I guess there are like those tips and hacks, like just take the test in a week and we'll get you the results. Like, I don't promise that. Like, when people contact me, I'm always like very honest. I do my best to be like, okay, well, we're going to do our best to help you get to that goal, but it could take you a little bit longer than you expect. I'm always as honest as I possibly can be with our students and give an honest assessment as best as possible because we want people to have realistic study plans too.
Yes, totally. But it's hard to verbalize unpopular opinions to people, right? Because I know that's not what they want to hear, right?
Yes, but it's important to create realistic plans, and just jumping, skipping steps and buying fake certificates. It's not the way to go. And you're just giving money. People are just giving money to criminals, and that's also not good. And Yeah, so please avoid any fake certificates or paying people to try and, take the test for you and everything. I know it's so frustrating. I know it's so frustrating to have to take these tests over and over again. Like, I can totally feel the frustration of our students or people who would taken the test so many times. I can imagine how frustrating it is, but nonetheless, we don't want to give money to people who are doing illegal things. So yes, and to clarify, our school does not give fake certificates.
And we don't sell job offers.
Yes, good. Okay, so if anybody wants to learn how to pass their IELTS, CELPIP, or PTE core test and get the CLB9 that they need, get in touch with us here at English for Canada. We are a team of certified Canadian language experts, and at Olena's firm,
if you would like to get a consultation with regards to your immigration matters, you can definitely book a consultation with me or with my husband, Corey Weber, who is also immigration consultant. And you can find the link in the description to book your consultation.
Yes, we'll talk to you next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about formality. How formal should your documents be and how formal should your responses be on your IELTS, CELPIP, and PTE core test. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.